What's up, dudes and dudettes? It's been a while since I made a video. Who cares? This is what if Minoru Mineta trained. He trains with Deku. And by trains, I mean like a beast. So, Mineta is the main focus of this. But people get stronger because Mineta's way stronger too. Hold up. Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that. So, Mineta, he is a beast. He doesn't want to become weak. He wants to be a hero. Not just for the fact ladies like heroes, because he really wants to be a hero. He wants to be the next #1. He wants to be strong enough to make even All Might's strength seem like it's nothing. And he meets Deku in an odd way. So I'm basically uprooting the entirety of 1A. Now, it's the same people going to Class 1A, but Mineta is actually way higher. If you didn't know, Mineta's actually really freaking smart. Maybe even almost, he's actually almost as smart as someone like the smartest chick in 1A, Momo. Now, funny thing about Mineta in this version, he is an absolute beast. And he's comparable in strength to that about Deku. And you might be thinking, but Deku's actually powerful. Mineta just throws balls. Do you have any idea how much of a throwing arm he would have? The throws he's made, and as accurate as he is, and even, like, at any point, his throwing arm must be crazy strong, and he uses both arms to throw. So he's not weak. Now, Mineta likes this design for his costume instead of this design, since this one just looks better, and it's not a diaper, it's literally just pants. So, yeah. He is roaring to fight. Him and Deku meet as Deku's training for One for All. Mineta, not being an idiot, figures this out. If frickin' Bakugo can, Mineta can. Alright guys, sorry about that. I had to deal with some stuff. So yeah, Mineta meets Deku while he's training for the quirk One for All. And Mineta says, you know that's not how you're supposed to do that, right? Mineta saying how he's the one who clears this beach every few days. He tries clearing it every now and again. He actually does it. He comes here every morning to do that. And he had came whenever Deku was doing it. So he said, alright, let's do this together, bud. Sure, and eventually Mineta finds out about halfway through. Because he saw an interaction with Deku and All Might. Figured out All Might's true form. And found both of them while they were doing something and said, All Might, Izuku. Both of them turning their heads like, how do you know that? Because All Might was in his scrawny form. And, well, they said, come on, All Might, let's get you back in top shape. All Might confused, like, why is he saying that? Saying, well, you want to get stronger again too, right? You don't want to go dying of old age on us, do you? All Might saying, alright, my boy. We all train together. And they do. After that 9 months, they all three look pretty much... Well, this Mineta is actually a lot buffer than he was in canon. So, yeah. And it's the main thing is that this is Mineta. He is still kind of perverted. But he's not as much into pervert stuff as he was in canon. So, yeah. And Mineta, they've seen the throwing arm the guy has. He could easily throw a ball pretty far. And at one point, Mineta actually had to do that. And that's going to be in the future, but whenever, like, the 1A entrance exam happens, Mineta and Deku finish off the beach. And they're both roaring at the top of it as they fall to the ground. All Might in his buff form catches them. They both are finished, and they get ready and go home. When they're home, at their own houses, they get showered, they get ready, and they're done. Both of them wearing a tracksuit. Mineta's with a very different design. It's got, like, I think his would be pitch black in this version. Like, purple stripes with pitch black. And he is a super genius, so he is got, like, tip-top. Deku, however, he did way different. Deku in this version got stronger because he's training with multiple people, and even does sparring with Mineta. So Deku, without One for All, is no match for Mineta, though. Mineta doesn't use his quirk, so they're even. But as strong as Mineta's sticky balls have become over these past months, it can hold down All Might. All Might saying, I give you both permission to use that quirk. Which he can give as a hero, he can give it to regular citizens. So yeah, Mineta's ready to fight. And so whenever we go into, like, they both get into 1A, same as canon. Though Mineta is number 7. I'm not sure what he was in canon. I think he was way further back, but number 7 for what he is in this version. Like, in, like, the digits. And he was right behind Deku with 59 of his own. Well, Deku had only... In this version, Deku was even basically in the same spot, but he actually had, like... He basically did the same thing as he had in canon, but he's a lot stronger, and he can go hand-to-hand with some people better. So, 100%, he's still messed up. But he can actually handle, like, 7% already. And Mineta is ready to fight. So they go. And whenever they meet each other, again in Class 1A, they fist bump. And they are really good friends, because they're good friends. And for the 2 weeks after the UA, like, entrance exam, they finished fully cleaning up the beach. Not a thing of trash on it. Not a truck scrap, nothing. They actually sold all the materials that are truck scraps. Alright, so we continue with a version of our beefy boy, Deku and Mineta. Now, in this version, they're kind of co-starring the show, because the same stuff happens as in canon for Deku, like when he met All Might and all that. But meeting Mineta was completely different, and these two are both monsters in their own right. And whenever, like, Bakugo threw that ball and got, like, second highest place, well, third because, Uraraka, Mineta got third in this version, right above Bakugo, and Deku, using One for All, got right above Mineta. Mineta only did that so well because he has a cannon throwing arm. And he said, I have no strength quirk, as he grabbed a ball off his head, and he said, they might just be sticky balls, but I have to throw these every time I use my quirk. Example. You think you can throw something every day and not be able to throw really far? They said, makes sense. I mean, you throw every day, so you're pretty good at it, right? Yeah. They go through the whole thing, and Mineta is actually shown to be great buddies. And in this version, hold up. Sorry guys, my brother's being a complete asshole right now, so yeah. Dealing with that's a pain, so we get back into this. Mineta is absolutely beasting on his tests. Side to side, everything. He was a beast. He is top. He is third in the class. And Deku is second. And at top is Bakugo, sadly. But in this version, the person who's actually at the end is Invisible Girl. And whenever he was actually going to kick her out, Deku and Mineta both said stop, and that she needed to be there.
Are you sure?
Hold on. Alright, sorry about that, guys. I'm dealing with my younger brother. He is being a complete jerk as much as he can. So, yeah. Mineta is literally, they're topping the charts of 1A, yada yada yada. Then the UA Fest, then that whole thing where they were at the USJ. In this version, Mineta, Deku, and Sue are still there. But Mineta is fighting them underwater, as well as Deku. They trained underwater to fight with each other, and they can handle themselves. While these are shark people, they can handle themselves pretty goddamn well. Mineta completely hammered a fist into one of these fuckers' faces and stuck their teeth together. They couldn't move and were stuck like that for about a minute or two. And we have our boy, like, run. He is running as fast as fucking possible. Because if he doesn't run, he is screwed. Bakugo, beasting out, fighting as well as he can, and everyone else is just about as well, doing as well. No one is really losing a fight, they're just getting their asses kicked. Like, Mineta is... Then Deku's like, I have an idea. And Mineta's like, I got an idea too. You know how you can use that because it'll take all that energy? Yeah? Mineta covered Deku's arm in the sticky balls that came out of his head. And this made it where when he punched down, it sent them flying where they went in canon. And yes, that makes little sense, but I'm gonna say plot fucking armor. They land, and they are ready to square up. In this version, because, Mineta knows the truth about All Might, and All Might's actually been able to handle it for more than 3 hours, now it's about 3.5. He isn't as messed up, but he still wasn't able to be there. So he is literally on his head. So Mineta and Deku are basically throwing hands. Mineta got Shigaraki in the mouth. And Shigaraki said, you short mother. As he took another punch to the face by Mineta himself. And he yelled, Nomu, fight this thing. While the Nomu was just about to kill Aizawa. As Deku landed the meanest right hook to the Nomu. This sent the Nomu back a foot, instead of the way it went in canon, because Deku threw everything he had into this punch. And yes, you would say he was kind of throwing everything he had in that punch really too, but he was holding back because he didn't want to blow his arm off. And they had yelled for help, and who else to show up? Literally no one showed up, but they are boxing, like, really well. Deku and Mineta, like, once Mineta throws Shigaraki back a little bit, he'll throw a kick and, like, distract the Nomu for it to turn its head while Deku lands another hit. But this isn't working out very well. While it is making it where Deku's hands don't blow up because of the way the Nomu works, they aren't really winning the fight, they're just buying time. That's all they can do. As Bakugo flew in, as well as your boy Todoroki, both flew up to try affecting the thing. And these are not weak characters, so they can handle it. And then you have a few others, like Tape. The dude whose power is basically just tape. He wound up flying out there to go getting Aizawa out of the fight, since Aizawa was really kind of screwed up. But this meaning that now it was a 4v2, Mineta said, y'all handle this big dude. I want to play with this weird hand guy. And they're like, okay, leave us with the big guy then, I guess. As Deku is wailing on this dude, punch after punch, in 1,000%. And every punch does not kill, but it still hurts like crap. Now, Bakugo, he got about a bucket worth of glycerin in his hand. Like, he is, like, got glycerin all over this thing, and he's like, Deku, Todoroki, back up. They back up as the Nomu's about to fly forward. Bakugo goes, surprise, motherfucker, and blew the dude completely to Kingdom Come. They are not ready for the smoke. And it didn't kill it, but it sent it back pretty far, and then Mineta jumped out the way, and it hit Shigaraki. Shigaraki is out cold. Well, he looks like he's out cold. He's not fully out cold. just most of the way. Now, at this point, Bakugo saw the dude who was basically their portal boy. He saw him about to go, like, transport this dude out of there. But he's not letting this happen, so he flew up and grabbed the dude's metal neck thing and started blowing him up repeatedly at small bursts. Now, they can't handle this, and they yelled for the Nomu to help. The Nomu on its feet is actually being jumped by 3 different dudes. Bakugo saying, "I'll handle teleporty and handyman. Y'all handle that big guy. My explosion didn't do much, so yeah, y'all can handle him." They keep freezing him, and right then, All Might flew in with the meanest right hook, connecting it to the Nomu's mouth. The Nomu spitting out, basically, not spitting out, but like basically feeling the pain, ran. Freaking took that hit. And All Might actually beat this thing. But Deku had actually been holding this thing off for so long, and Mineta had helped so much, that they were basically seen as heroes of Class 1A. Yes, Bakugo and Todoroki are heroes as well, but they got to the fight later. And they weren't dealing with this whole thing from the very beginning. Bakugo was not squaring up with a Nomu in a 1v1 like Deku was. And Deku and Todoroki was not throwing hands with their main lead villain, as well as that Nomu at the same point. They're seen as heroes, just not as much as the other two are. Now, did they do well? Yes, they did crazy good. Are they respected for it? Definitely. But nowhere near as much as Deku is. And Mineta. Now, this basically meant that Class 1B talks all the big game, like they're going to do something, and they cannot handle even Mineta. Now, the whole thing goes a little bit differently. Yes, Mineta actually made it to the fight, but that's because him and Deku actually teamed up. Him, Deku, and I'm basically changing the entire team. Instead of like Uraraka, it was Deku on that team. So yeah, they could handle themselves. So yeah, Mineta makes it instead of Deku, and Mineta has to fight Bakugo, and Bakugo and him threw hands for like half the time. Like they were just like, this is never going anywhere. Those balls absorb the explosion. It doesn't help anyone. But then they thought about something. Mineta accidentally like got his hand throwing a ball out, and because Bakugo knew what would happen if that ball hit him, he shot it with a full powered blast, and it basically rocketed and hit the ring and shattered that part of the ring. Now that's not a big deal, they can fix that easily, but they're surprised because he basically found a bullet. They basically made bullets at that point. Now, does Mineta win or lose? He will lose this bout because he's fighting explosions with grapes. So yeah, he loses, but it is seen as very respect. Deku loses in the same way, like, against Todoroki. But in this version, Todoroki seeing these two beasts fight, them all seeing each other fight, Deku said, "Don't you dare give up. Don't you dare give up." Right, yelling this in front of Todoroki. Todoroki saying, "Alright then." And he put all the rage he had into his flames and all the power he had into his ice. And beat Bakugo. Like Bakugo, and to see who should be number 3, it turns into a Mineta versus Deku. And Deku actually, won the fight. So they're seen as the top 3, but Mineta saying, "I'm number 4. If anyone thinks that I'm wrong, they can prove me wrong. Try it." them being intrigued on this kid being thinking he's all that, Tokoyami actually steps up saying, "Alright, let's go." Tokoyami put Mineta Dang to his peak, but Mineta flew by him and basically just might as well have RKO'd him out the ring. He straight up just RKO'd him where his legs went out the ring, but, like, that's all that happened. Like, his head was still in the ring, but Mineta just flipped it like that, with a push, flipping Tokoyami. Dark Shadow, feeling all woozy, and same thing for everyone. They're completely confused on how they all just took that mean hit. And yeah, Mineta's seen as the 4th strongest, and it's right, he is number 4. And he is up there with the league. Like, he's of the League of Heroes that you don't mess with. The upperclassmen, they have their group of 3. They're seen as the top 3 in the school. They'd all be, like, really high-ranking heroes if they weren't teenagers. When they're out of UA. Mineta, Deku, Todoroki, and Bakugo. These are the 4 that are supposedly going to be called the top 4, because 3 is kind of not going to work for them, because there won't be just one person. They won't just be 3. There's going to be a 4th dude. Now, these are basically the monstrous powers that they can use. They found out that if they stabilize Deku, he can use basically his wind pressure to make a full-on cannon for Mineta. Well, for Todoroki's ice brick. Like, Todoroki can make a brick of ice, and Deku sends it flying. And Bakugo and, like, Mineta, Mineta can throw a huge group of those balls off his head. Like, he can take a bunch off and put them into a circle and throw it in the air. And Bakugo makes an explosion right in front of it and basically sends it flying at whoever he wants to blow up. And thing is, that's basically a giant cannonball that sticks and pulls them down. Now, did they do good? Yes. Is there very little weakness in both of them? Yes. Would it be a bad idea to piss them off? Yes. Does someone still try to piss them off? Very much so. Yeah, that's basically all they do. So they throw hands. They really throw hands. Mineta is raring to fight. And they actually do this as a little, like, the whole team sparring stuff happens basically similar. And Mineta is actually just a champion of fighting. Now, we go by a little bit to where I don't know much big stuff happening. They do have that whole thing where they're training at the what's it called? At the summer camp? That camp training thing. In this version, Mineta, he still attempts to peep. Because he's still perverted. But he just tries it to see if he could. It's more of him challenging himself to see what would happen if he tried. And he tries, and then Koda kind of knocks him off. Now, being that Koda started to fall, like, Mineta fell, landed directly on the face of the class rep. And in this version, Deku, already having full cowling, basically flew up and caught this dude, but he accidentally put too much force into it, and he wound up seeing the girls as he hit the ceiling and flew back down. Now, he winds up hitting his head on the roof, caught themselves, and basically used himself as a shield to catch Koda. So he is in just a towel. He is laid out, like, on a couch, completely out. He finds out about what happened and talks to the Wildcats, or whatever they're called. And same thing happened. And I did not forget about the stain thing, but it doesn't really matter much right now because the same kind of stuff happens. Like, that one didn't have anything changed. And Mineta in this version, he has actually tried doing it again and again and again. Like, he doesn't try it again like a second time after he failed, but he wants to. Like, he really wants to give that an attempt. And right when he's about to do it, he gets him to back down. And you could say that there are some beasts out of the group. But no. Nah. They're not that powerful. Now, could they fight? Yes. Will they win? No. So, we send our boy straight into the jaws of hell, because him and Deku wind up fighting. Muscular, basically, Deku... Mineta wound up fighting Dobby's, like, one of Dobby's clones, because he has a few copies. Because Double made a few copies of Dobby, not just one. So, Mineta had to actually take out one of the Dobbies. And he does. Barely. But Deku fought Muscular, and they're running, and in this version, they still capture Bakugo, but they capture Bakugo much less easily than they did in canon. They're all bloody and beaten when they get Bakugo, and they're like, everything hurts. I really wish we had a healer. I don't want to get up. And they're like, they were high school kids, right? There was a few heroes. It wasn't even the heroes that hurt us. Who was it? Some purple dude? The one that popped your lights out a few times? Don't you freaking remind me. Some guy with green hair. Don't you remind me of that either. The beat up Nomu. I said don't remind me. And, the dude we captured, as well as some red and white haired kid. Oh, really? Son of Totoro. Son of the number 1 hero. Well, son of the number 2 hero thinks he was actually hurt you. Yes. Alright, let's finish this. Now, they are running completely crazily. The same thing happened where it's like, pizza delivery. But when they go to grab Bakugo, Mineta is there. Like, he is raring the fight. Like, he's got his own disguise and everything. I'm not sure if he did in canon. But, yeah. He's there basically to fight. And in this version, when they're about to all grab hands, Mineta's like, y'all's grip ain't great. So, here. And stuck a ball to each of them. And yes, Spikey still grabbed Bakugo, but in this version, Bakugo got a ball to his chest, and he's like, what just held me down? Mineta pushing himself and Deku off, saying, later, dudes, what are you doing? Goodbye. As Deku sent them flying farther to land with all the balls that Mineta stuck to the bottom of them. They kind of stick to the ground and land there pretty much fine. But then you have Mineta and Deku, who land up in the fight between All For One and All Might. Now, hold on a second, guys. They basically land and hide, and they see All Might getting out of his buff form. He's trying to use that power, but in this version, something slightly different happens. Mineta says, alright, let's go. And covers Deku's arm in all the purple balls on one of his arms. They asked what percent Deku was going to do. He said an infinite percent. But won't that kill you? It'll shatter your arm. Thanks to you helping me so much, my arms aren't that bad, dude. I know. You almost broke him too bad, though. Now, he flew up like at a beastly speed and hit with the meanest right hook into All For One after All Might's hit, because in this version All For One stood back up saying, looks like that was all you had, All Might. As Deku landed that punch, surprise motherfucker, Mineta landed a kick to the back of the head of All For One, basically just to mess with him. So yeah, they basically keep whooping on All For One as he collapses to the floor. And they grabbed All Might, because All Might was still standing, but not really useful. So yeah, he ran. They hold All Might up, and it's saying, and in this version, instead of pointing to the camera, he points to the two boys, saying, "You are the next boy," as he hit the floor. Hold on a second. Alright, so we finish off this what if as any what if would. They go through the whole thing where they get their hero licenses. They get this. They do well. They are beasts. They walk around with their hero licenses. But then we have the airy thing, which I did not forget, dudettes, or whatever you want to be. Well, the airy thing happens a little bit different than it did in canon. Because in this version, Mineta's there. And Mineta basically jumped in front of, basically stopped a bullet. You're thinking, no way. He saved Night Eye with a stab that would have killed Night Eye being blocked by multiple Mineta balls that just sent Night Eye flying. And a bullet that erased the quirk of Mirio. Mineta saying, "Surprise, motherfucker," and drop kicking Overhaul. Now, is he strong enough to fight this dude? No. Did he buy a little bit of time for Deku? Yes. Did Deku kill this dude? No. Did he come close? Very much so. He beat on Overhaul. They basically all beat on him, and his arms, like, they were obliterated, but he had just enough force to get himself where he had his arms back. They were just really, really beat up. He couldn't fully fix his arms. He had all 5 fingers, all hands. His arms weren't good. They were just torn to shreds. He couldn't fully put them back together before collapsing. He was arrested and all that, and he's in Tartarus with Stain and All for One. Now, there is someone else that's in Tartarus. I'm not sure who. So yeah, whatever. We're gonna figure that out in a minute. So yeah. Yeah, but it's him, Stain, and All for One in Tartarus. So yeah. They done. They go through the years, because I haven't seen Season 5. They're going to do all that stuff in Part 2. Later.